What's up everyone, welcome to the 9th and final tutorial in our PyPlot course. Here we're just going to go over some very basic 3D plotting. It will be a chance for us to plot some data using X, Y and Z coordinates. So we're going to start by creating a dataset. We actually have all the data we need, we'll just pick out the pieces that we want. We'll plot the data on a 3D plot. Again, it's going to be X, Y and Z values rather than just X and Y, so we'll use slightly different techniques to do so. And then we'll just customize the graph a bit, so this will maybe be just adding in some labels and changing how the dots look, because we're going to be using a scatter plot for these. So let's head on over to the code. Alright, so before we get started, the first thing we want to do is make sure that all of our cells are up to date. I believe mine are, I ran them more recently. If you just want to be sure, then just go up to the top here, click on runtime and then run all, and that will make sure that all of the cells run top to bottom. And you'll have all the most up-to-date data. So all we basically need are going to be our X and our Y1 and our Y2. So I figure we'll use this for the Y data and this for the Z data. Okay, and of course we'll need PyPlot. Okay, so let's go down to the bottom here. We'll start up a new cell as per usual. Zoom in a bit. And we're going to get started with a brand new import. So this import is going to be from mpl_toolkits.mplot3d. So this is going to contain all of the functions and methods to make sure that we can plot 3D data. We're going to import axes 3D. So axes 3D is going to make sure that we can plot things in on a 3D set of axes rather than just a 2D set of axes like this, because of course we need the Z value there too. Right, next up we're going to call upon plt.axes. And we're going to pass in a projection equals 3D. So the default projection is going to be 2D like this, because we only usually deal with X and Y. But here we're basically saying for every PLT set of axes that we create, or in fact we're going to return that object, it's going to say for this set of axes, we're going to make sure that we're projecting it in 3 dimensions rather than just 2. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, all we need to do is plot this guy in, plot our X, Y, and Z values. So we're going to do that on axes rather than on PLT. So we'll say axes dot scatter 3D. Okay, so we'll create a 3D scatter plot, and we're going to pass in our X, our Y1, and our Y2. And then on the end, we're going to do plt.show, because PLT will just show any kind of queued up plots. So let's go ahead and run that. Alright, that's really good stuff. So you can see that we have our X, Y, and Z axes. So this one is going from 0 to 100 this way, 0 to 100 this way, and 0 to 100 this way. Now, it's actually kind of confusing to know which is which. We're not sure if this is Y or Z, which one of them is X, so let's add some labels. Now, the labels are going to be added to axes this time rather than plt.xlabel or whatever, because we're working with axes or rather we're graphing our data on axes rather than just on PLT. So this will be a slightly different method. It will just be set_xlabel, set Y-label, and set Z-label. So I'm just going to set this to something simple like X-axis, and we'll do the same for Y and Z. So Y there and Z there. Okay, we'll go ahead and run that. So interestingly enough, this is not the Y-axis. You'd think top to bottom's probably Y, not the case. We have our X-axis here, our Y-axis here, and our Z-axis here is kind of getting cut off, which is unfortunate, but we can definitely kind of concur that this is the Y-X, and so this must be the Z. Alright, so you can see that this is a scatter plot. It's not that great looking, but there's not a ton that we can do in terms of customizing the color. We can definitely change how the dots look by adding in a marker to our scatter 3D. So we'll add in the marker parameter. Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't take color codes. Like for example, I can't set this to be green. Okay, it says it doesn't know what that is, but we can change the way the markers look. For example, if I want little triangles, where is that hat button? There it is. I can do something like this. This will create me little triangles like so. Okay, so that's kind of cool. If you do plot multiple data sets on there, then the markers will automatically change color, but we cannot change them manually through this marker parameter here. Otherwise, I think that is pretty much all I wanted to show you. Honestly, I don't find myself graphing data in 3 dimensions too much. I just don't usually deal with data that requires X, Y, and Z dimensions. Usually it's going to be 2 dimensions, but this is a good tool, rather a good skill to be able to have and to showcase, just in case you do ever find yourself in need of 3 axes. Also, I should point out that you are definitely not limited to just the scatter 3D. You can create other kinds of 3D plots. You can create 3D line plots. You can create some really cool, like, landscape looking things if you incorporate colors and different kinds of data in there. So if you do want to know more, I'd highly recommend you check out the documentation for some more kinds of 3D graphs that you can plot. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this section up. Just to quickly summarize, we had to import the axes 3D. We made sure that we're using 3D projection of our axes. We used the scatter 3D to plot 3 sets of data here, set the marker, and then we just set our labels like so. Okay, so that is pretty much it. In the next section, we're just going to do a really quick summary of everything that we covered in PyPlot, and then you can be on your way. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.